Hi, everybody. I am Donna Reed. I traveled and up with people in 1976, and then I did costumes for a few years. Most of you already know that. And I am here today in my home in Tucson, Arizona, with a picture of Germany behind me. And my guest today is Koen. And I'm going to let him just say his name and introduce
Wow.
since I'm not that great. But tell
I
everybody
hope.
who you are.
Okay, so my name is Koen Suidgeest. I hope people don't think that because of the picture that I'm from Germany, although I'd love
No,
to be from Germany, of course, great friends, but I'm from the Netherlands,
from the Netherlands. That's right.
right
Yeah.
next
No,
door, right next door. Yeah.
I just happened to have just been in Germany and I had this up for another podcast. So there was no
Okay.
rhyme or reason. Yeah. A house torn down. So
Yeah, it's nice. It's a nice picture.
yeah. Okay. And Koen, tell everybody when you traveled, if you worked on staff, a little bit about when you joined up
Yeah.
with people. Yeah.
Yeah, I traveled in E88.
Okay.
Uh, so we were the second round of Time for the Music.
Okay.
Uh, and then I was home for half a year and I was offered a job in the meantime. And then I joined staff in the summer of 89. And then
Okay.
I stuck around for 3 years.
Okay. What'd
Yeah.
you do on staff?
Well, I was mainly focused on the whole kind of promotion, management kind of side. So I wasn't involved creatively.
Okay.
Um, I was a promotion coordinator. Well, a promotion, what did you call that? Rep? And then
We said PR. Yeah. Same thing.
yeah, exactly. And then a promotion coordinator, and then I became the marketing manager of the
Ah,
of the turnaround cast when we went from 1 to 2 cast in the winter and 4 to 3 in the summer. So we had to invent a cast F. So I was the marketing manager of F91.
wow.
You were not aware of that? How that worked?
When you said turnaround cast, I've never
Well, not turn
heard that.
around. I mean, that's maybe not the right word, but we needed an additional cast to be able to do this
For
trick.
like the summer to do some extra
Where we
nights.
went, we went to a smaller summer staging and
Yeah.
a bigger staging.
Okay.
And so I did that, and then I did a couple of special projects. The Floriade project here in the Netherlands, which was an alumni project, 6 weeks long, 3 shows a day.
Wow.
Yeah, and then after that, I was on the team of the Brussels
Office or
no reunion. We had there was
oh, the
one
reunion
summer
of
reunion in 1992 that took place in Brussels. That didn't take place in the United States, and I was on the team for that. And then after that, I moved to the United Kingdom to study film.
okay.
So
Where in the UK did you go?
in Surrey. Yeah, I lived in
Surrey.
Guildford in Surrey, just south of London, and my school was nearby there. So that's where I spent I don't know 3.5 years or so.
Okay. Okay. Now, is your office or music studio? I'm seeing like drums and all sorts of
Yeah,
stuff.
I'm in my home. I live in The Hague, the city
In
of
The
justice
Hague.
and peace. Yeah,
Okay.
home to the International Court of
Yeah.
Justice and the International Criminal Court and all sorts of other organizations that fight
Yeah.
for world justice and peace. And so it's a good place for me because I'm also in that fight, and
Yeah.
as many of us are, I hope. And so this is my working place, but I'm also a really bad drummer. But it's really good sports for me. So what I do is I put my headphones on, I put music I like, I pretend like I'm a famous drummer and I'm in a concert, and then I bang away for about an hour and I feel like new afterwards. So
And you've probably got the whole arm muscles going on.
no, well, not so, but I mean, you don't have to hit it hard. You just put the volume up because they're electronic. But that's what I do here as well. But this is my workspace, so there's a lot of stuff there, like here,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's quite a big space. So I have a lot of
We'll
room
talk
to
a
put
little
stuff.
bit more about that shortly because
Yeah,
I know
exactly.
that's something that we really want to get to. Do you have family where you live, or what's your situation related to that? Where it's close to where you grew up, or
Personally, so I have 2 daughters. I'm a father to 2 daughters.
Okay.
My oldest one is turning 24 in December, and my youngest one is turning 19
Okay.
in November. Their mother is Spanish. We are not together anymore, but we were together for quite a long time. And I lived in Spain for a very long time as well. I lived in Madrid for 17 years.
Wow.
And we now all live here. We just don't live together anymore, but we now all live here. Of course, my girls are, one is graduated, the other one's in university. So yeah, so that's my immediate family, let's say. My parents are not alive anymore. I have two brothers that live in the Netherlands.
Oh, nice.
They have their own families. Yeah, they live in the area where I grew up, which was a little bit further to the north.
Okay.
And a whole bunch of friends, and of course I have aunts and uncles, and I mean, my parents had a kind of Catholic background, so they were from big families. So I have a lot of cousins and I have a lot of uncles and aunts, but I haven't
Nice.
always been the best in staying in touch with them. So my circle within my family is slightly limited, but the families are really big. Yeah.
Interesting. I don't know if I told you this in advance. My nephew and his wife moved to Utrecht. And she was just looking for a job in Europe, and he's a pilot, and it was during COVID, planes were not flying as much, so they were able to go, and he was able to be a stay-at-home dad, and they absolutely love it. And those kids are 6 and 2, and now of course they're learning both languages simultaneously. So I think next year after the reunion in Limerick, I think I'm gonna pop over and see them.
Yeah, come and see us. Utrecht is a lovely city. I was just there this week. I have friends there as well. Everything is nearby in the Netherlands.
Yeah, right.
And so it's easy. You go for dinner there and to a theater somewhere else, and then you go home here.
And it's all convenient.
It's all convenient, like on the train and stuff. But and I was just reminded how lovely it is. It's a really fantastic city. Yeah, I think they've landed in a really good place.
Nice. All right. So I want to ask you just a couple more questions about Up With People before we get into your current situation, where you work and what you do.
Yeah.
I have asked almost everyone, as to the best of my ability, about the future of Up With People, what they see, what they learned, how it affected their life, but more importantly, in this new launch, in a new manner, what you might tell. I mean, you have a 24-year-old and a 19-year-old. If they came to you and said, Dad, we kind of want to do this new Up With People thing. I don't know if you've watched, they just left Mexico, they went to Colombia, and now they're on to the next piece. And it's a different format. But is there something that you gained that you think exists forever through Up With People that you would pass along to a young person?
Yeah, definitely. But I'm hearing a lot of questions. So
it is a lot of questions. That was
all in one go. So I'm trying to filter them. Okay. Shall we talk about the new program for a second?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So I really like this new setup. I don't, it's not like a year abroad anymore.
Right.
It's a 3-month program. It's also currently in a part of the world that I've worked a lot and I really love. I've been there many, many times in that region in the world. And so, I almost felt like joining. I thought, oh, this is fantastic, And so I really like this new setup. I also hope that we can make the numbers, that students will continue. Yeah, that students will continue to be interested, and that there's a kind of a natural flow of students also from outside. It seems to me that a lot of students are children of alumni. Yeah, this is what I understand from a lot of my friends. I know several people, who have sons and daughters who've joined the program, and that we can really open it up again outside of our own circle, let's say, because this is what I've been feeling about Up With People in the recent years. It's become very much something that's been kept alive by alumni, for alumni, and I, when I traveled, and also when you traveled, we had 5 casts, and we were picking up people. We were picking up people on the road like crazy. Sometimes we had 120 interviews. In some countries, and that was really a strong side of Up With People that I really hope we can get back to. But I love the program. I think it's become a lot more tangible. It's also more affordable. It makes it easier for other people to also join. You don't have to be of great financial standing, which you kind of had to, like, 5 years ago. It was a very expensive program then, and so kudos for starting this, and I really hope it's going to work. Let's get to the question of what I gained from it, or what I would tell.
What you gained, and then how you might instill that in someone who might want to go on this new.
Yeah. So if my oldest daughter just did a year in Korea.
Okay.
Yeah,
Like,
so
did she study abroad, like live in a home?
well,
No?
actually, it was part of her studies when she was at university.
Okay.
She was supposed to spend 5 months there, so she went. COVID started, and
Oh,
within 4 weeks she was back. Very sad, of course, because she'd lived up to that and really worked hard for it for a long time. And she promised herself, once I graduate, I'm first going to work for a year, and then I'm going to go to Korea for a year.
okay.
And she rented a studio for herself in the capital, Seoul. She was learning the language for a couple of years. She nearly killed us with all of the series, Korean series that she was watching on Netflix. Just to like catch. We were like catch the language, and yeah, she was totally addicted to that. And I was thinking, okay, so what, how would it have been had she gone to the kind of upper people that I was a part of? And my general advice has always been, I'm really, really in favor of any kind of international experience, any way that you can expose yourself to other cultures, to different customs, any way, upper people or not, is enriching and important as well.
Right.
I think it's one of the most important things we can do now is to learn about each other and to experience that on a deeper level, over and beyond, I don't know, touristically, for instance.
Right. Agreed.
Yeah. So and of course, if you go to one place and you stay a year, you learn something else than if you go to 80 places where you stay 2 or 3 days every single visit. But they are both valuable. You just learn different skills and different things, but they're both very, very valuable. So I was very proud that she took it on. It was the first time, she just said, okay, I'm leaving for a year. I thought it was really courageous. And she organized herself incredibly well, and I was really proud of her. But had she said, okay, I want to join up with people for a year, I would have also supported that, of course. I think it was very positive for me. It would be very positive for her as well, I think. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, no. That was super interesting. I am definitely interested in, I'm going to say our age. You're clearly younger than me, based on,
I don't know.
well, just because men have gray hair, I mean, this is,
I wear this shirt because I'm in denial about my age, so I want to
there
seem
you
young.
go. You look cool.
But I'm turning 56 next. I'm turning 56 next week.
All
so
right. Well, I just turned 65, so a little bit.
Okay. All right. Okay. Fair enough.
But the bottom line is, some of the younger people have told me that at some of the reunions they haven't been felt as welcome, or that people of our generation have said, well, you didn't do what we did. So what you just said about whether it's 80 cities for 2 days or 3 versus a week, that's what I noticed with my son in 2013. He really remembers where he was. He remembers playing soccer in Mexico. He remembers with 12-year-olds in the dirt, right? The details. Now I'm older, I have very vague recollections of a lot of the details, because there were in fact, our cast has argued about towns that we've been to because we don't even think we were all same place. So I appreciate that, because there's always change, right? There's always change.
But that instilled different skills that are not only about memory. I think. And that's what the trick is, like the ability to pick up every 2 or 3 days, to move on, and to still feel that you had a valuable human connection in your host family, is something that is very valuable. It's not ideal. I understand that. And sometimes we were in a host family, we think, okay, I can't wait to get out of here.
Right.
Sometimes you're in a host family, you think, oh my God, if I could only stay all summer, this is, I feel so,
I want to be here.
Yeah, exactly. I want to stay here and whatever, and be pampered, or this connection with people. I don't know, good conversation, whatever, interesting host brothers and sisters. Like, it was also, but it's just a different skill. I think. I do think that these days, I mean, the world is moving very fast. You have to be really flexible. You have to be able to pick up and go, and that also has value.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
One thing though, I have never been at a reunion, so I couldn't relate much.
Ah,
Yeah.
interesting.
I sorry,
You
let
need to
me
do
bring on
that.
some nuance. No, I'm not going to. Let me bring some nuance to that.
Okay.
I was part of this reunion team in Brussels. It was a really
Mm-hmm.
unique reunion, I thought. It was
Mm-hmm.
slightly different. I'm also seeing that there's going to be a new reunion format from next year.
Yeah.
Uh, I may well go to Ireland. I don't know. It's nearby.
Yeah.
But I'm not good at reunions. I've never been
Oh,
good at. Yeah, it's people are too happy for me. You know, there's too much. Let's jump in the pool, and I don't know. And maybe it's the impression that I'm getting.
I feel like I'm going to shake my finger at you.
Yeah, that's fine. You can. Yeah, that's fine. But I have gone. So just to give you some
Yeah.
better, context, I have gone to cast reunions, just
Mm-hmm.
single cast that I've been with,
Right.
and they
Right.
have been extremely valuable for me. Maybe it's also the massiveness. I don't know, but I have to admit they always came at the wrong moment for me
Oh,
because
well,
I've
there's that. Yeah.
always traveled a lot for my work. And of course, at the time when I had a family, my kids were younger. I felt it was very unfair of me to also say, okay, guys, I'm going to go have fun by the pool in Tucson with a whole bunch of people. You guys wait for me and I'll be back in a week. I always felt that was very unfair of me because I was gone so much already.
Yeah.
And I don't think we could have afforded it, just, the four of us going and then like
Yeah.
turning it. You know what I mean? So I don't know. There's a whole
There's
bunch of, yeah,
all that makes total sense. I mean,
yeah,
I've been fortunate to have lived in Tucson and worked on the reunion committees here, but I only traveled 1 year. And then I did costumes for a couple of years. So
yeah,
and I was in the bicentennial. We had like 7 non-Americans. We had to make up countries for people, to be from. And so for me, the reunion and helping here has allowed me to get to know people, and also being on the board of governors, because
yeah,
that then thrust me into all ages. Right. There were the young
yeah.
people and the people that we thought were old, in the 70s and 76, if they traveled in 71, we were like, oh,
Exactly. I was, yeah,
so
yeah,
long
exactly.
ago. Yeah. But
I traveled with a couple that everyone traveled with, I think, with Bob and Donna Feach. We were
yeah,
on management staff together in Cast F.
yeah,
And I was young when I was on management staff. I was 23,
yeah.
24. But they were like 34 or 35. And we all thought, oh my God, they're so old. And now I
I
look
know.
back at that, I think 35. I think, when I saw the new program, I thought, okay, so I'm, well in my 50s, but I could still be the cast manager. You know what I mean? It's like a little secret dream that I have because they're going to such cool places. But of course, these kids are going to go, what's grandpa doing here? We want someone. Yeah.
You know what? I am mentoring some young people right now at work, and I have to say that sometimes those kids, they could be my grandson or my 4th son,
Yeah.
appreciate the wisdom of some of us. Not always,
Okay.
not
Fair enough.
always.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not always. But I also think, there's some change. They're doing this whole week in Ireland. It'll be interesting for me to see. I've only ever spent 2 days in Ireland. So Dublin
Yeah.
for like a minute and a half, So,
Mm.
all right, let's move to the present. Because your name, I've been a friend of you on Facebook. I've watched you on Facebook. We've never met in person. And so your name was given to me by some others because of the work that you are doing in your life. So why don't you tell us a little bit about, we'll try to encapsulate it, and then that I'm going to also write an article so we can get a few more details. But why don't you tell the Up With People world what you do in your work?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm a documentary maker and a photographer. And I also teach. I teach university. Right now, that's kind of imbalanced, those two sides, my creative practice and my teaching, in terms of, slightly balance in terms of the amount of hours that I spend there. And I think when you say, someone put your name forward or something, it's because all of my work is human rights based.
Right.
So
Exactly.
yeah, it's all it's primarily human rights that revolve around 2 issues. if I talk about my films, at least,
Mhm.
I've done a lot of work in children's rights, motherhood, overpopulation. Those have been themes that I've worked on in films. And I spent a considerable amount of time, and I'm saying maybe the last, let's say, 8 years or so, being very active also in the LGBTQI plus space, because we created several films that have done with which we have done extensive international outreach campaigns, and that have been very successful. And I've done a lot of workshops and stuff like that. So those are kind of like the two themes that I work in.
Okay. I'm
Um,
taking notes too, by the way. So if I keep looking away, I just want you to know that's what
that's
I'm
fine.
doing.
That's fine. Yeah, I don't worry. Everyone is looking at the house behind you anyway. They're not
Nobody's looking
paying
at me.
attention to you. Yeah,
It needs work.
it does need work. Anyway, so yeah, and that's really rewarding work. It's a very enriching experience to be able to work in a space where, I feel I really try to go at the heart of some of the issues that plague our world.
Hmm?
And so yeah, so that's, I think why I think that's where kind of that yeah, I noticed someone made a Wikipedia page about Up With People, and there's a short list of notable alumni there, and someone put my name there, and I was so surprised. Yeah, I know. I was so surprised. I think, come on, there's so many people that are doing incredible things. But so yeah, and of course there's a tie-in with Up With People there as well. I mean, a tie-in in the sense that I may have ended up in this area anyway, but Up With People certainly contributed tremendously in many ways in shaping me and the way I was thinking about the world.
I want to ask you a question. I'm going to interrupt here. So
So
do you feel, so first of all, when I traveled, the LGBTQ community was really silent. People
yeah,
still weren't talking about it. So you were a few years after me.
yeah,
Were people more out and open at that point when you traveled?
yeah. I think yeah, about towards the end.
Yeah,
I
90s.
yeah. Well, let me start somewhere else actually. And
Okay.
let's be clear. I think we have a very strong, very diverse, and very colorful
Yeah.
LGBTQI
Sure.
plus community among our alumni. And I've always been very wary of not being the spokesperson on behalf of that community, because I'm
Mm.
not part of that community.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, um, uh, and uh, and so what I've done with the films, I've done for a human rights organization, and but I just want to kind of flag that I'm very wary of that. Yeah,
I
I don't want
understand.
to think I don't want to think that I speak on behalf of them.
No.
But in my experience in Up With People, two kind of things happened. One was when I first joined Up With People, I was a total idealistic, and I still am. I have a very strong sense of idealism, a very strong sense of, I get very angry at injustice. And so when I joined Up With People, I joined for that reason. I wasn't really interested in the show. I thought it was really cool. Yeah, and there was a time in my life that I wanted to be an actor. That time only took 2.5 days, but that time it existed. And so, the whole thing. But I really joined because I felt that I could do something in the work for the world. And then I arrived, and I wore a ring and a stud at that time in my ear,
Huh?
and
Okay.
I arrived in January 1988, and I'd gotten a small grant from Up With People.
Okay.
About 10% of my student fee had been given to me as a grant. And so I won't name names, but I found the person that gave me the grant, who was in management at the office, one day in the first week or so, just to thank him for the grant, to say, thank you so much. You've really helped me. It's maybe, it might be a small amount, but it's really a big difference for me. And he said to me, about those studs in your ear, they're going to have to come out. And I'm like,
Oh,
yeah, exactly. And I said, why? What do you mean? And he's like, no problem. But I'm just afraid people are going to be prejudiced against you before you even enter a host family. And they're going to think you're gay.
Yep.
Like, yeah, and is that a problem? I mean, I don't care what people think. And he made me take them out. I haven't put them in since, actually, because the halls, I have 2 halls, they grew and they closed and stuff.
Closed
He made
up.
me take them out. Yeah.
Wow.
And I was really like, wait, this is Up with People, right? I signed up for a program where we learn from each other. We can all be ourselves. What happened, And then 3 years later, I was a marketing manager in 1991. So yeah, roughly, yeah. So 3 years later, our cast met with another cast B 1990 on the road in Belgium. One of those fantastic where
they all come together.
Yeah, where the tours cross, and
Yeah.
you organize a get together, and it's like the best thing that ever happened. And even if we didn't share staging, because we were, of course, from half a year later, but that cast had an openly gay cast director. Cast manager. And in the show, they had this whole presentation of, hi, I'm a redhead. Hi, I'm from Belgium. And there was also, hi, I'm gay. And
wow.
Yeah, and that's
3 years
later. Yeah. So I'm really happy that I got to experience that as well. Because that little moment, the first week of my Up with People experience, which I felt was quite discriminatory, 2 people from the community and to me, and unheard of, I should say, really left me with a sense of not bitterness, but it was one of those moments that I couldn't forget. And I was really happy that 3 years later, we had moved on so much already, that this was possible. And, the people from the community will support this. It's been really difficult, I think. It's been a really, really long way. And I think after that period, like in the 90s, things changed a lot. And, there's a lot more open debate and stuff. But I do feel that Up with People joined that train a little bit late, and in that sense, it was quite a conservative organization, something I hadn't taken into account when I joined.
So it's interesting for me because through staging, through shows, through conversations with youngsters and oldsters or whatever, there's been the conversation about I was too big to be on the front of the stage, a girl that was talented but couldn't be up front. There's been conversation about earrings because the kids now, they're like suggested they wear as much jewelry as possible. And in my head, I just see like a necklace flipping, and short skirts or long skirts or torn jeans or not torn jeans, and just, the changes that have happened. And it's interesting for me to think what came first, so was Up with People a little late in following that? Because I remember one of my cast members being told to take his hair, earring out and simultaneously not let his hair go below his collar. So, just, and I'm like, so was that conservatism? I don't know. I grew up in a conservative little town, so maybe I didn't think as much about it.
Maybe your definition of conservative is not the same as my definition of conservative.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So going on to, we mentioned the cast in South America and how you were kind of interested in that. Tell everyone kind of what you've done. Maybe choose one of your documentaries or something that's super special to you that you can share with us.
Yeah. Well, again, I can connect it Up with People if you want.
Doesn't hurt.
I know. Stick with the program.
Yeah.
I think my most certainly a pivotal documentary for me, and my only long form documentary, as in 1.5 hour documentary that was in cinemas, and it did like 45 festivals, and it won a lot of awards and stuff, is a film called Carla's Arrival, which I made in Nicaragua.
Yeah.
Have you watched it? Yeah,
I have watched it. Yeah.
Yeah, I've watched it. Yeah, great. And it's about a teenage homeless girl who lives in a park in Managua, the capital of Nicaragua. She's pregnant at the beginning of the film. She has the baby, and then she plans on raising the baby pretty much under a tree in that park. And in the film, she kind of makes attempts to save herself and her baby But they fail, basically. She's always thrown back into the park. Well, I won't tell you the end. I'd be very happy to make the film available so people can watch it.
I think that'd be great.
Let's say that I'll put the link in the first comment, and people that haven't watched it, because then, this film I made we started filming in 2008 and we finished in 2010. It came out in 2011. So it's a while ago. Yeah, it's like 12 years ago. Yeah.
You have gone back, right? You've been back.
Yeah, I've gone back many times. Well, this is what happens with the kind of projects that I do, is that often the connection with the participants in the film, the people that the film is about, the connection becomes very strong. And in one way or another, you remain connected. And that can be in different ways. In this case, I don't know if I did in 2015, I think I did a TED Talk, and it's about the film. It's not so much about the film, but it's about it's on my website. You can see it on there, so if you want to see it. But I start that TED Talk by saying that I witnessed three births in my life. The birth of my two daughters, and then the birth of the baby in this film. Yeah. And so that is a very remarkable kind of moment for me. And I've always felt very connected to this human being, who, by the way, now must be 2014.
14.
Yeah, exactly. And nearly the age her mother was when she had her. Yeah. I think it's time for a second film, but that's a different story.
I couldn't remember, but honestly, it's only again because of Facebook, because of Up With People, that I've learned about this, that I saw the link, that I watched
exactly.
it. I remember seeing
posted
that.
The link. Yeah.
So
I do stay in touch. I made the promise to the mother to support that child's education for as long as she was in school. Now you may think that's easy because education is free in Nicaragua. But if you don't have a uniform, sandals, plus no one gives you any kind of tools, pencils, rulers, backpack and stuff. And that, for a family like that, was a big investment every year. And so this is how we continue to support her. Me and the Nicaraguan producer, we were doing this together. And I have gone back several times. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Last summer, I visited one of my alumni friends in Belgium, and she said, in Brussels, and she said, Donna, my mom's cousin's going to be here too, and he's kind of closer to our age than to my mom's age, and he's a priest in South America, and she just kind of runs through this whole thing. And while he was there, I found out that he worked at a boys' school, and that part of the reason he was back home in Belgium is because those kids were given violins, and he had partnered with a musician in Belgium to teach those kids how to play instruments and gotten them the instruments. And part of their story was that they didn't have lights in their homes, so they would sit outside under a street light to play and stuff. So just what you were just saying and reminding me of this story, it's part of travel. It's part of learning. It's part of understanding how fortunate you are in many ways,
That's definitely true. And that is also one of the difficulties in making such a documentary. There's such an obvious imbalance in power. And, however much aware you are of that, and however much you try not to show that imbalance, it's always there. And so this is one of the ethical challenges for a documentary maker to work. A lot of my work has been with people who live in extreme poverty, and this imbalance is always there. And this notion and recognition that you are privileged, and it always puts a stamp on the project in one way or another. Yeah, and it's really important to be able to deal with it, to even talk about it. Sometimes, you can talk about expectations. What am I going to give you? What am I not going to give you? And why? What can you expect from me? What's your role in deciding what we're going to show, for instance? Ownership of the story. So these are all issues that I failed to mention how it connects to Up With People. For me, one of the most remarkable Up With People alum is Bruce Harris.
He interviewed me, Koen.
He interviewed you. There you go. Well, he obviously was a very smart guy because he accepted you. Yeah. So Bruce was he was the executive director of Casa Alianza,
Mhm,
Covenant House. They had several homes in different Central American countries that
mhm.
both housed and educated, but also outside of the house on the street, worked with street children. Um, and really then when I was living in Spain, and there was a moment I thought, okay, I got to do more. I've got to find a hook somewhere. I had this interest and this drive and this urge to work in social justice. I hadn't quite started yet.
Yeah.
And then I thought, there's this guy that I've heard of who's an alum Up with People, and he works with street children. Let's give him a call. And so I spoke to Bruce, and he was very excited about the idea. And I set out to do a different film, and then when I got there for research, I understood what my film had to be about. And so I went back and I kind of replanned the whole thing. Yeah. And I think, Bruce, he had a very unceremonial exit of the organization.
Yep.
I've always been 100% on his side on this story, and history will put it right, I think. It fits in the pattern of having been shot at, having been nearly abducted, having to move his family outside of the country.
Side. Yep.
He was doing the kind of justice work and the kind of human rights work for children that made a lot of other people uneasy. And so this whole kind of scandal surrounding him was a total fake. And I felt so much for him when this all happened. And yes, but he was my initial inspiration for this film. He invited me to Central America in the sense that he was open and said, just come, have a look for yourself.
He was in Guatemala at the time, right? Was he?
Yeah, he was in Guatemala at the
Okay.
time. That's right. But he couldn't live there.
No, right.
Yeah,
I remember
so
that.
He lived in Costa Rica. He lived in
Right.
Costa Rica.
That's right. That's right. We only have a couple of minutes, and then
I know. We just started.
I know I'm going to hit record, and then you and I will talk some more, and I'll get a little bit more. We are going to do an article that will be in the alumni. I don't even know what they call it. Is it a newspaper? I don't know what. It's all online.
Still called Upbeat? It's still called Upbeat or not?
Oh, it is Upbeat. Okay, thank you. Yes.
But is it? I don't know.
I think it's still called
Okay.
but Paul Harvey used to say the rest of the story. So we'll get a little bit more of the story to share, and either that'll be first or this will be first, but we'll have the link so that people can see the film and get more information about what you do. Doing these for me always reminds me of big gestures, small gestures, the ripple effect in an ocean. Bruce talking to you, you just never know what you're going to instill in somebody's life or what's going to happen. So I'll talk to you a little bit more. You got 1 minute. Any great parting words for the alumni?
Parting words for the alumni? Oh my God, I feel put on the spot. I mean,
okay.
I would say this one thought I often have is, whatever we preach during my year and Up with People, I'm still trying to make it a reality, build bridges, work on education. Education is so important. It's the solution to almost every problem we have, and there are quite a few problems that we're having in this world right now.
Absolutely.
And I sometimes, I look at Facebook, and it's of course very superficial and stuff. And I sometimes think, come on, guys, let's go back to that area. Think back, and put a little bit in as well. And
put a little bit in. That's great. That's great.
Wasn't that a song?
That's great. That was a song. I'm gonna end this, and then I'll be back with you in a couple minutes. Okay.
Okay.